On today's pitch this week, we go to the other side of the universe. That's right. All the complaints about I never talk Marvel. Here we go. As Tyler pitches Thor 5. So I want to kick off I do like Marvel comics and I have known Marvel comic stuff, but it's not where my passion is. I really liked the MCU's Thor for many reasons. Chris Hemsworth is a great actor, but also because Thor has the most heart-wrenching arc of any MCU character. You look at each movie, he takes great tragedy. He loses his mother, his father, he has to kill his sister. He watches his brother die to be brought back, but then watches his brother die again right after they bond and become best friends. He loses all of the Warriors 3. And then Lady Sif. He watches half of his people die, and he can't do anything to save it. And his arc of not being able to save the day, which he's supposed to be able to do, and that in turn with not being able to stop Thanos and him going and just giving up on himself and becoming what I call the Fat Thor, but just the weight and the burden he carries, I feel. And that emotion is strong because he feels unworthy, and that's his whole thing, is he was unable to do what he was supposed to do. And then you carry that into Thor 4, which was too much. They changed where he was with the Guardians, and that didn't work out. And it's very small in the film. They introduced a villain that was really dark and then made it a joke. And the movie is divided because they make Zeus a joke. They have a villain that wants to slay and kill gods in a place where all the gods are, but yet the villain does not even get there. It only kills the gods at the beginning. It was so imbalanced. And they wasted gore and everything. But where we leave Thor is he's taking care of Love. Gore's daughter. And I think what we need to do, Jane dies. That's a serious note, right? And the movie is unbalanced. But let's do this. Thor 5 picks up where Zeus is angry and sends Hercules. Which, first of all, I don't like the Marvel interpretation of Hercules, or even using the Greek gods. I think the Norse gods work because the Norse gods have never been that prominent in most pop cultural things, probably until now because of the MCU. And I'm so used to the Greek god representation of Wonder Woman in the DC side. So having Hercules, I don't even like when Hercules and Samson showed up and fought Superman, okay? It doesn't work for me. But having Hercules going after Thor and this battle between gods. And the whole point is Thor Valhalla. And the idea that Thor is fighting his last battle. And it's a much more serious, much more in tune with the first Thor, where he's not saving the cosmos. He's not saving the universe. He's saving a group of people. He's departed from Asgard. He's not the king or anything anymore. He comes back to New Asgard to try to step in to be the man that he should have been. This whole thing has been about him breaking those bonds and breaking those chains. And we see that New Asgard is small, and it's really lost its way of being the people that they were. They don't cling to the old ways, and he comes back and he's there. And basically it's about Thor sacrificing himself for his people and doing the last thing that a god / hero would do. One of the biggest things is, I think you could use love in a sense of the way that Thor had his daughter, much like in Young Avengers, and you could kind of amalgamize and combine those characters. And you have Hercules challenging him. There can be some rule about a god challenging another god, being able to take over their power and their kingdom or something. Some sort of council of the gods and the elders, and they go back to that place, and you have an arena battle again between Thor and Hercules, and of course Thor wins, but Hercules slips out on, cliche, right? But then you have the big battle on Asgard, and Thor dies. And that's his last journey. And when he dies, he gets to the gates of Valhalla. And the part that gets us, is he's standing there. And it really is like a hero's journey, because there stands his mother and his father and Jane and Heimdall and Thandril and Sif and Loki. And you could even put Tony Stark in there for fun. And the idea is he's finally home and at peace, because everything he lost, he kept fighting and going on by himself. And he would bury his anger. He would bury his pain and do what's right. But he's finally at peace because he's home with his family. And it comes full circle with his arc and who he was in the first film. Stopping Loki from killing an entire race, being Odin's son, but being his own man and not being king. But in the end, he had to be king to his people, and he dies trying to. But he's not forgotten. And it's okay, because he's home in the Great Hall. And I just feel like Thor needs that closure of any Marvel character, because where we left him was not in a good place. I mean, more so than, death is always the end of the story, right? But I feel like more so than any of the other heroes, because of what he's went through. It's the only logical conclusion, because he's lost everybody. And I think Thor should die battling Zeus. He defeats Hercules, disgraces Hercules and Zeus, and then Zeus threatens him, and it is thunder versus lightning, basically. I think Valkyrie needs to be in the movie, as she has to admit that she cannot rule as king, because the people don't look to her like the way they did Thor. And Thor has to bring back in the old ways, in a sense. And it ends the bloodline, the royal bloodline that was his family, since, it's passed down, Bor's son, Odin's son, and such. That royal line that had been of succession is over, and it means something to who the people of Asgard are and their culture. Because the people have suffered too. And I said, you do love, kind of continues on, like I said, as the new kind of power of Thor character, if you want to. But that kind of closes Thor's chapter. Cap got old and retired. Tony died. The Hulk's doing his thing, whatever. It's really time that Thor had the hero's Viking, funeral that he deserves.